What up, players? And welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, back in studio in Philadelphia, fresh off our early morning flight from Indianapolis, turbulence filled. We are here to talk about NFLPA grades, Nick Sirianni, and all of you out there who were soulmates before you were lovers. Hi, Zach. How are you?
I'm doing great. Excited to be on the show.
I can already tell this is going to be a loopy episode.
Yeah.
You said you had 7 hours of sleep over the past 2 nights.
Over the past two nights,
Combined.
I combined 7 hours.
Yeah, we were out late in Indianapolis last night, sucking on some Miller Lights.
So my problem, I don't know if you have this problem, when you know you have to get up early.
Oh, I can't fall asleep.
No, I keep waking up. I was getting up this morning at 5:30, and you're up at 4. And then
Now, are you a
4:20.
snooze man on your when your alarm goes off? Never.
Never a snooze button.
Never a snooze button.
No.
Never?
Never. I didn't even know what the snooze button was until I got married. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. When the alarm goes off, you get up. Yes.
Julia cannot believe this. I mean,
yeah,
the snooze is a way of life. I mean, I set 2
Why
alarms.
Why set the alarm if you're not going to get up? That's the purpose of the. That's like,
yeah, but to begin the process of getting up is not just necessarily, for me at least, here you go, get up. It's a process. I set a 5:30 alarm and a 5:40 alarm, and I snoozed both of those bad boys.
It's harder.
Got out of bed at about 6 o'clock.
It's harder to get up out of bed when you do that.
Maybe, but I also want to cling to those like 6 extra minutes of sleep I can get.
Those 6 extra minutes are not going to be restorative for you. So yeah, I would suggest not doing that.
Well, not going to listen to you.
Okay.
Julia, what's your snooze button?
That's about
philosophy?
10 years if I'm not listening.
I'm a big snoozer. At least twice. Yeah.
At least twice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an early morning flight.
Wait. So I have an honest question here, okay?
Please.
We're already off the rails here. The show hasn't even, we haven't even gotten into the grades. Why not just set the alarm for the time that you're going to get up? Like, why do the 2 snoozes? This is so impractical.
Well, you do the 2 alarms in case one of them doesn't work.
No, but why are you snoozing? Because then you're not in this actual like state of sleep. You get up, you go back, you get up, you go back. Like, if you're gonna get up at 20 minutes, what's the normal snooze period?
I think 8 minutes.
Okay,
something like that.
So 16 minutes later. If you're gonna get up 16 minutes later, why don't you just set the alarm 16 minutes later? That would be much.
Why
more
don't they just build the whole plane out of the black box? Is basically what you're.
That's false equivalency.
Or what you're saying is, if you snooze, you lose.
I'm not casting judgment. I think that's one of the differences.
Feels a little judgy.
You can do however. You can snooze if you would like. I'm simply saying that I am not a snoozer.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I understand your point, but this is also related to just your DNA of in search of efficiency at every turn.
You know, I need to be more efficient in some ways, but I would respond that my problem is actually I get up before the alarm clock, and then you have to decide, do
Sean decide?
You have to decide, do I want these extra 36 minutes, right? Do I want these extra 24 minutes? Do I want these extra 15 minutes, whatever it may be? So because it's the anticipation of needing to get up. When all of these games this year, when I have these 6 a.m. flights or whatever, and I set the alarm for like 4:15, I'm always up before 4:15. And
now, is that like an anxiety because you're worried the alarm's not going to work?
Yeah, I just think it's like the anticipation of that. And then nights when I know that that I need to sleep, that's when I can't sleep.
Oh, sure.
Because you're
too much pressure.
Or the brain's racing. Yeah, exactly.
Or you come home late after a game, or you're like an all-nighter, and you know you need to get some sleep. Too wired.
Yes. Well, the thing I need to do better. Admittedly, well, there's many things I need to do better, but regarding the sleep, is I've considered having my phone in a different room. One thing that happens to me is, let's say I'm getting up at 5:45, but I get up at 5:12. All right, instead of going back to sleep, I'm like, well, the Inquirer stories are out. Let me read that, and then I'm reading the Inquirer stories, and it's 5:36 at that point, and I'm like, all right, I'm up.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, once you do that.
Yes. So
Yeah, leave the phone away.
leave the phone away. Is that what you do, or do you get the phone?
No,
next to you?
I'm not good at that. The phone's right next to the bed.
You're not a middle of the night tweet reader though. Or
No, I'm not.
Unfollower
Or an unfollower.
unfollower slash
Or, oh my
refollower.
God, the Eagles hired Kellen Moore, and I NyQuil'd right through it.
Yeah, though I'm done doing Advil PM. So
All right. That'll do it for this episode of the PHLY
we have a
Eagles
lot to
podcast.
discuss. We have a lot to discuss today. It should be a good show. We're going back to school today.
How was the scene? Let's finish a little bit
Okay.
more on
Yeah.
Indianapolis. You know, you wanted to know what the scene was going to be like on Monday. Let's reflect on what the scene was now that we're back.
Well, so there's always these stories from, I remember reading one on Deadspin at one point, and maybe there was a Sports
Rest in
Illustrated piece where it's like all the real stuff at the combine happens in dark
sure.
bars at 2 a.m., that kind of thing. And there is a component of that to the combine, and that's the great thing about being your teammate is that you're like a natural in those settings. So
Get out of here. You got to stop with this nonsense.
it is true.
It's
It
not
is
true. I hate that part of the combine.
You're really good at that.
I
You're
am
really
not.
good at-
Standing there holding my Miller Lite, like, okay, well, oh my gosh, look, there's a position coach over there who used to work for the Eagles. Let me see if I can talk to him for 6 minutes. Yay!
Is that your impression of yourself?
That's my impression of the collective, of the collective
okay.
media.
No, so the thing that I always kind of laugh about in those encounters.
I bet you don't miss the Philly media, do you?
No. So I am guilty of this. Okay, I'm guilty of this part. Is that you don't want to be the one who's like pressing them about like pertinent football stuff.
Of course.
So I overcompensate with like, so how's the family doing? Right?
Yeah, I'm only always asking about the family.
Yeah, I'm always
basically.
asking about the family. So I know about so many people's kids who it's like in no other circumstance. No, I'm saying in no other circumstance would I be like, yeah, so how's the family? But in this case, it's like
In no other circumstance? I feel like in most circumstances,
No, I'm
I
just
would
saying
ask about the
typically
family.
I'm just saying typically it's like a it's
Sure.
like a business interaction. But you
Yeah.
want to make sure that it's not doing that. But I'm saying I don't know their kids. Like
You could go the other way and go real hard football heavy. Be like,
Yes,
hey, so how do you beat cover 2 Buster?
yes,
Like,
exactly. No, you try to find common ground with everybody, and so now I will add this is self-deprecation, but this is true. I am better when it's like 60% full than like 120% full, just because. Let me explain this to you. I can't hear. All right. I'm not gonna name this. I'm not gonna name the coach specifically, but there was a coach a few years ago who
Bud Grant.
Yeah, really nice guy. This guy's probably 6'3". Okay, played quarterback at one point, and
Narrowing it down.
yes,
Okay.
and
I have a guess.
I had about a 15-minute conversation with him where it's kind of like the quiet talker in the Seinfeld episode where he agreed to wear the puffy shirt in Seinfeld. Like I was just like laughing and nodding my head, and I have no
Just
idea.
based on the cues of what he's
Yes,
saying. Yeah.
exactly. You're nodding your head, laughing, but I couldn't hear a thing. And so that's why I like, and you know this, I
6'3", used to play quarterback.
I like to sit down.
Does it rhyme with Balix Manny?
No, I'd like to sit down. Okay, that's because
Okay.
that kind of puts that levels.
Evens the playing field.
It levels the playing field there. So if I can get the bar stool, then I am. I try to scope that out.
Okay.
But otherwise, yeah.
How's the weather up there?
I don't ask that. I don't ask that. And then the other thing is then they're leaning down, and so like you're screaming into their ear. You know? Yeah, it's not a conducive setup there.
Yeah, I don't love the 120% full either.
Yeah.
Like you're.
But I'm saying, but you're great in those settings. So
I'm not great in those settings. You're being like a little bit silly. Like
no audience chat.
I am
I'm
not
telling you,
great in those settings.
Bo is being he's being humble here. That is.
I am not being humble.
Okay.
I am not great in those settings. I do
Okay.
not like those settings.
Okay.
Sam, I am.
Okay. But yeah. So anyway, it was awesome being back at the combine, seeing a lot of familiar faces, seeing people I haven't seen in quite some time. It is an NFL convention. Learned a few things about the team. Always wish I could learn more. Some things we'll try to flesh out. But it was, it was a productive few days, and was thrilled to touch ground this morning and excited to see my
thrilled
kids.
to touch the ground only because you were worried at one point we might not.
No,
or we might not touch safely.
I was not worried about that.
Some wicked.
In all seriousness, are you ever worried about that during turbulence?
Not really.
Okay,
Not
yeah,
really. But the woman next to me was having a tough time.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brad Stevens told the story one time about how he was on a flight back from Orlando. He was on a recruiting trip, and there was a group of kids who just went to Disney World, and it was the most turbulence he had ever been in on a flight. And the kids put their hands up like they were on a ride, and they were having so much fun. And he used that example to say that life's all about attitude. It's all about how you perceive something. That was in a Dan Wetzel story. Probably
Of Wetzel's Pretzels, of course.
Probably around 2010, 2009, 2010. Anyways, that anecdote's always resonated with me, and you'd be not surprised to know that I have used that.
Tried to repurpose that for your own life.
I have shared that a number of times with my wife, with my kids, with my
How
with
many times
friends.
do you need to share it with your wife?
Well, that life's about attitude, right? That you keep a good attitude about this, and that you're it's all about how you look at things. So
okay. Also, the other anecdote that I think is worth passing along. Everybody wanted to know more about dinner on Monday night with Marissa.
Oh, okay.
And Marissa sent a nice text yesterday saying that if she talked to the boss of the New York Times, she would have told him face to face that having dinner with us was the highlight of her trip, even though you were unwilling to do so. But you reminded me today of a funny part.
What was my response to that text? Now that we're sharing, I didn't know that text was on the record, but
I don't remember. Let's see.
You laughed at my response.
Oh yeah, you said you would be envious of the time with the boss.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I had forgotten about this, and it was just something that I noticed when it happened. But we went to St. Elmo's. They have the famous shrimp cocktail, right?
Hey, where you going
known
with this?
for its the heat, the extra horseradish in that shrimp cocktail. You were the only one who got the shrimp cocktail. You went in Indianapolis, right?
Yes.
And you mentioned to Jamie Lynch before the show today was asking if you got the shrimp cocktail. You said, the shrimp I could take or leave, but I really like those saltines. And it reminded there was a moment during dinner when the server came over to collect.
He's simply called a waiter, by the way. But go on.
Why? You can't call him a server?
Isn't waiter more appropriate?
I don't know. Is it?
I don't know.
Server is. There's nothing wrong with server. I don't think.
Nothing. Okay.
He came over to collect your eaten shrimp cocktail. No more shrimp on there, but the horseradish was on there. And
cocktail sauce. Yeah.
The cocktail sauce. Yeah. And as he's taking it away, you're like, "No, don't take my saltines."
Okay. This is the second time you mistold this story for effect to make me the butt of a joke. I would never speak to somebody that way. What I said, I said,
How dare you?
I said, I'm still working on that, sir. Okay. I don't know if I used the sir or not, but I'm still working on that. And
You grabbed his hand.
no, that is not what
Smacked
occurred.
it away.
Okay. We all get the point. That is not what occurred. That is not what occurred. The appeal of the shrimp cocktail there is the cocktail sauce. It's not as if, and this is no knock on St. Elmo's. It's not as if the shrimp in Indianapolis is such amazing shrimp. It's the cocktail sauce. And so you don't want to leave the cocktail sauce uneaten, or that the reason they give you the
Well, you
saltines.
just scoop it in your hand.
That's why they give you the saltines. Is the saltines for that, or is it a palate cleanser?
That's why I thought you wanted it, was to cleanse your palate
Oh
from
no,
the
I thought it was to
cocktail
get more
sauce.
cocktail sauce. I figured
No.
that's not what it was. Yeah, you're making Joey laugh here. This is why Bo's so fun at the bar at 2 a.m. Right? Because he's the life of the party. No, that is
just haven't
not
slept.
That is not what occurred. I was trying to maximize my use of the cocktail sauce, and Yeah, when in Indianapolis, like you go to St. Elmo's, that's what you're supposed to get. It's the world. It says on the menu, world famous.
Yeah, it also says world's best coffee down the street. Like,
Where does it say world's best coffee?
well, I don't know. That's
Okay.
of course an elf, but that's a very classic thing. Like, just because it says it doesn't mean it's true.
It is. Okay, chat. If you're familiar with St. Elmo's, are you thinking of the ribeye or are you thinking of the cocktail sauce?
Well, of course you've heard about it, but world famous. I mean, you think the Dalai Lama knows about the cocktail sauce at St. Elmo's? Maybe he's heard about the saltines.
I have not inquired with the Dalai Lama about that. So, man, I was doing prep for the show, and then we're
Almost 20
19
minutes
in, and we haven't even gotten to these grades. We were mapping out the segments. I did not anticipate it going like this, but yeah, I would say that it was a nice dinner. The shrimp cocktail was good. The steak was solid. I like the mashed potatoes there.
The red mashed potatoes.
Yes.
Our dinner last night not as good.
The company was good.
That place has gone downhill. We had
The company was good.
A nice little
So
therapy session.
So here's actually a callback. Here's a callback that longtime listeners would appreciate. The most hostile meal that Bo and I ever had was at the Combine a year ago.
Yes.
And it turned into a 30-minute relitigation on the show that actually listeners called in and said, I'm very worried about you guys.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a contentious
yes,
episode.
It was contentious because if you recall, I got to lunch with Bo and Marissa. It was actually more like a breakfast. And I said, I said, all right, I have some show notes, or I have some notes I want to discuss.
Yeah, the second you sat down. And so when we sat down on dinner on Monday night, I had already been thinking about it. I sat right down and said, okay, I think the show needs to be shorter.
Yes. But before, when I got to the restaurant last night and I said to Bo, I said, is it okay if we talk shop tonight? Like, do you want to have like a heart-to-heart about fatherhood here, or can we map out shows over the next 10 days, make sure that our free agency shows are up to snuff?
Entirely appropriate,
Yes.
and also much different than it was last year if we want to relitigate it, because we didn't get to see Marissa. We got to have a meal together, the three of us in one person, in one place, and you plop down and you're already trying to talk shop and, say the show is not good enough. We need to do fewer shows. We got to keep it to an hour, yada, yada, yada. You got your wish.
No, so I simply said that when we're there for a company trip and we're on company time, we should be talking about company business.
Yeah, get out of here.
Okay. Oh, that's the difference between you and I there.
Okay.
But I was cognizant of that, by the way, when we were Julia in Las Vegas, that I didn't make everything show notes because I can do 3 dinners of show notes.
Yeah, we know.
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you want to join Zach for dinners of show notes, or ask Jamie about what he thinks of Zach's love of saltines, you can join us on Philly Sports Trips, because we are off to Clearwater with Philly Sports Trips for our very first PHLY spring training takeover. Hang with Phillies legend Charlie Emanuel. Philly Sports Trips plans the whole experience out, from flights and hotels to game tickets and transportation. Spend St. Paddy's Day on a private yacht with a catered dinner and drinks. Be on the lookout for more events throughout the year with Philly Sports Trips. Our trip is March 13th to 18th, so don't wait to book. It's coming up. Head to allphly.com/events to learn more and book your trip.
And actually, last night, Bo and I, we screwed up in terms of we did not plan correctly. The dinner came together last minute.
Yeah, bad job by us.
I was finishing up a Jeremiah Trotter story that you can find on allphly.com. Bo was meeting someone Bo was meeting up with someone, and we were meeting after that.
And we sound like a mistress thing.
And we had to find a place to eat. But what we should have done, frankly, is gone to the Indiana Pacers game.
Absolutely.
And I looked on my phone there.
Ball by us.
I looked at the Game Time app, and I saw we can get like last minute tickets. When they say last minute deals, there were 2 tickets for $9.
Should have gone. Would have been better food too.
It would have been the way to go. And you could say, well, Zach and Bo, you didn't have tickets. Well, that's what Game Time is so great, because Buying tickets to your favorite event should not be stressful, and it would not have been stressful last night. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. It has killer deals on last-minute tickets and the best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. And what would have been good last night, I've never been to the Fieldhouse there in Indianapolis. I don't know quite the seat views. If we're getting this section, am I getting an obstructed view? Is it far away? What I could have done is I could have just gone into the app and seen the image of the seat before I bought, so I knew exactly what to expect when I arrived. And it would have only taken a matter of seconds, only 2 taps, and I would have been set. Tickets, they would have been sent directly to my phone, and I wouldn't have had to dug through my email when we got there. Tickets are easy to do with the Game Time app. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
All right, ZB. I would say that the top of this show, the first 20 minutes or so, give it about an A. If I was grading it.
Good transition.
But
I would not
let's
give it
see.
an A. I would make it more like the team travel.
Wow,
So-
taking shots at the team travel.
Well, the NFLPA did. Let's get to it.
Well, they did better. They did a better job. Let's talk about the Eagles' grades in the NFLPA survey, and let's also contextualize for people who may not be familiar exactly what goes into this and when it happens.
Yes. So this occurred. This was a survey that was done by NFL players, and it's the second year they've done it. There's a number of different categories, and we can talk about last year's results, but then this year's results. The survey was done up until the middle of the season, right? So from the beginning of the season to the middle of the season. And then they were assessing and graded, and there's comments and feedback. And what I can tell you, what we can tell you, is that the Eagles scored very well overall, number 4 overall in the NFL in terms of like the overall GPA, which would indicate that players are happy to be in this organization, which is consistent with what we've been saying. This is a desirable place for people to play. There's a reason why, like someone like Fletcher Cox tells him that players who leave tell him the grass isn't greener on the other side, and players who are here often want to re-sign and stay. And for as tough as people
Like Albert O.
like Albert O, and as tough as people might think Philly is, there's a number of players who move here and then they stay here for the rest of their lives. You know, they come to play and they're part of this community, similar to how Jason Kelsey's going to be, right? So we'll get into the particulars, but the overall grade was very positive for the Eagles.
Okay, well, tell me what you thought were the most interesting particulars here.
Yeah, so the categories that they have. Let me pull this up here.
Treatment of families,
Yes.
in which they got a C and ranked 16th, which was tied for their lowest.
And by the way, it was kind of unfortunate for the Eagles that was like the first grade that came up, because some people just saw it and thought the Eagles had like a C overall, but that's not the case. Yeah. So there's
Okay, what do you want? You want to just go through these?
well
Read the-
here,
read
yeah.
the-
So treatment of families, C. Food cafeteria, A.
Well, hold on. Treatment of families, C, not a great grade, and part of the reason is that they do not have a family room in the stadium, which many teams do. Or they do have a family room in the stadium, but they do not provide free childcare for those families.
Yeah, they're one of 11 teams that do not provide free on-site daycare to the players' families. They do provide a room for the childcare, but each player must supply
They have to pay for their own.
the care for themselves. There are like complications. I'm certainly not in HR. There's a lot that, from my understanding, goes into having daycare. There might be insurance or license, things like that. But it's worth pointing out that there are 21 teams in the league who do provide this. There are 11 teams that do not provide the free on-site daycare, and the change. So the reason why the Eagles have that C grade and why they are 16th out of 32 teams is the biggest feedback is players would improve the treatment of families by upgrading the daycare offered on game day to match the offering of most teams across the league.
Seems like a reasonable request.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Yeah.
Okay. Food cafeteria. The Eagles ranked second in food taste and first in food freshness.
Yeah, they got an A in this, and they were second overall of the 32 teams. And you are someone who I think it's fair to say has keen insight on this because you worked in that
It's
building.
changed over the years, but it was always a good cafeteria.
But you worked in that building. I have insight in that we used to be able to eat lunch there in the media, and
it's interesting. The best, you could go, you could order anything you want. They'll make you whatever, smoothie stuff. But really, what kept me coming back was the saltines.
they have good cookies there, by the way. But this is something you hear often. Players love that cafeteria. I know this is the favorite podcast of our listeners, or I hope it is rather. But if you listen to Jason Kelsey's podcast, he speaks often about the cafeteria.
He used to say it's the only reason he's still playing was the cafeteria. Now that was more about the hanging out with the guys.
Yeah,
but
he meant hanging out with the guys. But he gave a shout out to the food in that cafeteria, and it is true. And the great thing too, and not all teams do this. Like you'd be surprised. I think it was the Bengals only feed their players on Wednesday. Like they only feed their players dinner on Wednesdays. Last year's survey.
Like what?
Last year's survey, yeah, they only have like 3 meals a day on Wednesdays. The rest of the time, it's just like lunch. The Cardinals used to charge their players.
I mean, that is really the beauty of this survey is to find out like how brutally cheap some of these owners are.
Yeah,
which team was it that's charging the veterans to not have roommates on the road? Like $15,000 or something like that.
I think that's yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah, we have to get to that. But so the Eagles provide like top quality food throughout the day for their players, and from what I understand, it's that way throughout the offseason too. So guys who like just come in for a workout during the offseason, will stop by and eat lunch, right?
Get yourself a to-go box for dinner.
Exactly.
Take that bad boy home.
Exactly, and I know that the chefs might have turned over the years, but when I was in there, I always got to know the people working behind the counter. Really nice and really good food, and the freshness too. I know this is something that just to kind of we're giving insight here. The Eagles have a garden actually by their practice field where they produce a lot of their vegetables that they use. It's from that garden. Yeah.
There you go. What other podcast has given you that insight?
Okay. The next one. Do you want to tee it up?
Nutritionist/dietitian. The Eagles get a B, which is 13th.
Yeah. 83% of the players felt like they get an individualized plan, which actually surprises me with the other 17% of the players because we literally walk by every day we're in there, and they have personalized smoothies based on the players' body compositions. Players are monitored, not in like the Chip Kelly way, but in terms of like you need to eat more of this or less of this to get to your necessary body weight. They have nutritionist, dietitian on staff. I should point out while we're doing this, someone who was very high up in that group was Mike Minnis, who just left actually to go to Indianapolis to run their entire department, I believe.
Nice.
So the Eagles lost a key person there. But 83% of the players, as I said, feel like they have an individualized plan.
Next, you move on to the locker room, where the players do believe that the locker room needs a renovation. It says 85% of the players feel like the locker room is big enough, which is 19th overall. 90% of players feel like they have enough room in their individual lockers, which is 14th overall. They got a B minus, 16th.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with the players. Well, I shouldn't. It's not as if they want my opinion, but I do feel like the Eagles could use a locker room renovation, which is the sentiment of the players. I don't know if this is a fault of the Eagles as much. NovaCare Complex was once a very new facility. The Eagles have done things to kind of retrofit it, but you're looking at it now. It's almost 25 years old, right? I mean, I think it opened in 2000 or 2001, and so it's nearly 25 years old at this point. And to be honest with everybody here, the NFL rosters were different than they were in terms of size. I vividly remember Brian Dawkins didn't just have one locker, he had 2 lockers. Now the Eagles don't even have enough lockers for every player who's on the active roster, injured reserve, and practice squad, that they have these makeshift lockers in the middle. And a lot of these and the Eagles are somewhat limited in their footprint in the facility based on where it is.
The neighborhood zoning.
Yes. But there are some NFL locker rooms that are cavernous. Now, there's some NFL locker rooms that I've been in. It's that where they're not nearly as nice as the Eagles locker room. But the Eagles locker room's long and narrow, and they do a great job of having natural light. I remember Peter King once remarked about the smell that they have emanating in it because it's similar to a hotel. They have. You're giving me this look.
Yeah, we walked through a Westin on the way to the lunch yesterday, and Zach was like, just like in heaven, like, oh, that Westin smell, baby.
Well, that's a good choice of words because I actually believe it's called the heavenly scent. Yes. It is. Anyone who's been in a Westin.
Just get Zach in a Westin and a box of saltines, and the man doesn't ever have to leave again.
Anyone who's been in a Westin knows that's a very welcoming smell.
It's a consistent smell.
You want your home to smell like a Westin.
No, you don't. You don't.
Yeah.
You want a Westin to smell like a Westin. You don't want your home to smell like a Westin.
I would love if my home smelled like a Westin.
Why?
That is
you want your home to smell like home.
I mean, my home smells good. I mean, shout out to Emily. If she's watching it,
you want your like hope and dream when you come home from work is like Emily to be standing behind a desk and be like, "Welcome back, Mr. Berman. How are you today?"
No, that's not at all. But we had this conversation on this show with Shield.
Can I have Mr. Reed here take your bags up to your room for you?
Not on this show, on Shield show. When you talked about the first thing that I look for in a hotel, and I say the smell. And the thing that I remarked is that I even looked at one point how to get the smells that's in a hotel lobby in your home. Because I've tried like those Reed diffusers. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Joey knows what I'm talking about, right? The Reed diffusers. It's these like 3 sticks in a
yeah, I know what a diffuser is. What the Reed is confusing me.
They're called Reed diffusers.
Okay.
Chat, help me out here. There you go. Joey pulled it up.
Okay, yeah.
Or no, she pulled up the Westin smell.
Scent.
Yeah. So, anyways, I looked up how to get this, and it requires like changes to your HVAC and all that, and that was a little too much work there. We had to just stick with the Reed diffuser. But yeah, everyone likes a good welcoming smell when they walk in. That's why real estate agents will tell you when you have an open house. You're supposed to bake chocolate chip cookies. So it smells like cookies. It smells like home when you walk in.
Exactly. It smells like a home, not a hotel.
Yeah, but I like the smell of, I like this. All right, we went on a tangent here. Peter King once remarked that the Eagles do a good job of making the locker room smell good, and it's because of actually filtration system that they have in the air. So,
all right. I don't think we need to go through every single category now that we've gotten on the cookie tangent.
No,
but
no. Here, so the rosters now, practice squads are bigger, injury lists are bigger, and the Eagles lost a lot of that space in the middle due to the.
John Bell says they've got the Westin scent in the house.
You see, you mock me. John Bell knows what's up.
Well, yeah, but I also see you logged in on YouTube over there under the nom de plume, John Bell.
I'm not logged in on YouTube. But yeah, so this I am in agreement with. Next category.
Training room, B+, 9th.
Yeah, 92% of the players feel they have enough full-time trainers. 95% of the players feel they have enough full-time physical therapists. 95% of the players feel they have enough hot tub space. 92% of the players feel they have enough cold tub space. And players reported an upgrade to their hot tub and cold tubs this year.
You got to feel for the 5% of players who don't think they have enough hot tub space. They must have had a bad experience.
You see, that's why you're a great Pope, because that's the exact observation that I think is pertinent to say.
What is the, what happened to that 5%?
They were in the hot tub with Jordan Davis and Jordan Mailata, and they're like, there's nowhere for me to sit. Right. So, yeah. So that's that. The training staff.
A-, 4th.
Yeah, NFL players rate their head trainer the highest of any team. And so
that's Tom Hunkley?
Yeah, shout out to Tom Hunkley there. He's
best in the business, according to the players.
Best in the business. And then players feel the training staff significantly contributes to their success. They're 6th overall in terms of players who felt that. And you've seen, by the way, this is the Eagles. I don't want to say the Eagles turned over their training staff in recent years. And this shows you the players are very happy with the change.
Do you think that was the source of the kind of thing that would divide any group of men? Report was the space in the hot tub.
I mean, with that would probably divide a lot of groups of men, right? Yes.
All right, what do we got next?
Weight room.
Weight room. A-, another A-.
Yeah,
Nice.
players feel they have high-quality equipment in their weight room, and players feel they have more than enough space in their weight room. Let me ask you, did you used to get to use the weight room back in the day?
I was allowed to. I didn't make as much use of it as I could have.
Okay. I pass by that weight room just about every day when I'm in the facility. And, yeah, it's a beautiful weight room, a lot of space. They've upgraded the equipment. They've upgraded the technology in there. And it's a weight room that guys like Jason Kelsey come in and use throughout the year.
Strength coaches, A-, 6th.
Yeah, players rate their head strength coach the 4th highest of any NFL team, and it's ambiguous who you would say was like the head strength. You know, they have a head strength and conditioning coach, but also Ted Rath is in charge of like player performance. But anyways, they are very happy with the strength coaches. 92% of the players feel they have an individualized plan, which is actually 20th overall, but they were 3rd overall in players feeling that the strength coaches significantly contribute to their success.
Team travel, C, 19th.
Yeah, so let's get into this one. This is one that they were notably low last year on.
Yeah, big improvement.
Big improvement. And I'll get into one of the changes. Only 75% of the players feel they have a comfortable amount of personal space during flights. Now, the Eagles made a big change last year, and this is my understanding. I actually looked into this earlier this year when they started going on road trips because I knew this was an issue. And the Eagles actually take 2 separate charters.
They do now. They did not last year. This is a
now.
change.
And as a response to that,
Right.
they now take 2 separate charters. Every player has his own row. And my understanding too is it also expedites the onboarding and the deplaning process because there's like a plane for like the players and then like the non-football staff, and so you don't have to wait for everybody. But I think the reservation from the players here is that they want players to sit in first-class seats, and the Eagles don't do that. My understanding with this, and this is something I also looked into during the year, is that they don't want to like pick favorites. You know, there's not enough first-class seats for everybody. So how do you determine that? But I mean, if you want to be not even skeptical, if you just want to kind of give a devil's advocate argument, maybe the coaching staff feels like, hey, we put in all this work. We're like working on the plane here. We should get these first-class seats. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah. And then the Eagles do not require any players to have roommates before games. I think this change.
Somebody correctly shouted out it was the Bucks who had the guys paying for not having a roommate.
I think this actually changed during COVID with the Eagles. They all had to have individual rooms, and I think they did it thereafter. If I'm wrong about this, I will correct it, but I do know that's a shift that occurred, and it's popular with players. It's kind of like an old-time thing in sports sometimes. You know, in hockey, you have like your designated roommate on the road, but I think a lot of players now prefer having their own room, their own space. Some players are snorers, right? So you're looking at me funny.
It's a weird, like, the first place you went. Interesting.
What's the first place you would go, Bo?
You want space to yourself.
Yeah, you want your own bathroom. Yes, I agree there.
How much would you pay to not have a roommate on the road? Let's say you and I were going to Indianapolis.
And I had the room with you? Honestly, I would ask to split the difference on the second room. That's what I would say. I would say, all right, the company's paying for this one.
Some people are snorers.
I am not a snorer.
I can be a snorer.
You can be a snorer?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it when you sleep on your back or just in general?
Usually the winter time when I'm a little bit congested.
Okay, that would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would probably be annoying to be a roommate with on the road because
You'd be getting up at 5:30 in the morning.
Yes, I get up early. And I have the TV on. When I can't go to sleep without the TV on.
Really?
Yes.
No matter what.
Typically, yeah.
What about like a podcast? That doesn't work for you? It needs to be the TV?
It could, but it's usually the TV. Yeah. but yeah, I'm
waking up, thrashing in the middle of the night, tossing and turning
I am-
myself because I keep hearing about what Jed Bartlett decision he needs to make.
Yeah, I do listen to West Wing. My wife can tell you the plot lines of all the West Wing episodes now. And then I'm a long showerer, so. Okay, let's move on to the next one. I take long showers. I sometimes write stories in my head.
What are you doing in there?
I'm writing stories in my head in the shower. Yeah.
How long are we talking?
I mean, not like that long, but
Well, you went out of your way to say that you're a long shower. How long
no,
are we
because
talking?
growing up, I shared a bathroom with my siblings, and
14 of them.
and I was and part of me getting up early is because like now I get to take the shower time that I want to have as opposed to like
How long are we talking?
say 6-7 minutes.
That doesn't sound that long.
I don't know. I haven't timed it. I will time it.
That doesn't seem abnormally long.
Maybe 10 minutes, 15. I don't know.
15 minutes, we're getting up there.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. More like 30 minutes?
No, not 30 minutes. Definitely not 30 minutes. A bit better for the water bill. Head coach.
Yeah, last two. Head coach A, ownership A.
Yeah. So 100% of the players feel that their head coach, Nick Sirianni, is efficient with their time. First overall in the league. Your devil's advocate argument to this?
Well, the survey was done in the middle of the season.
Oh, I thought you meant he just means that they don't like. He doesn't require them to work as many hours.
Efficient with their time, first overall, means that like
He gives them more free time.
Right, exactly.
Yes. He's not keeping them in. They're known.
Right, that's a choice.
They have more days off. Yeah, that kind of thing. The players feel that Nick Sirianni is very willing to listen to the locker room. 7th overall. This was taken midseason, but this is positive remarks. And if you're of the opinion that Nick Sirianni lost the locker room, again, this was not done during the losing streak, but Nick Sirianni's first point in the five core values is connect, and he's tried to
One of the top two.
try to form meaningful connections with his players, and so this reflects very positively on Nick Sirianni.
And Jeffrey Lurie?
And Jeffrey Lurie received a rating of 9.4 out of 10 from Eagles players when considering his willingness to invest in the facility. 7th overall. Jeffrey Lurie, we have said this on the show. We've said this on previous shows. He is he doesn't really spare much of an expense in terms of like the players and what it would. The Eagles are usually top in the league in cash spending on players. They invest in the coaching staff, and they've tried to do upgrades to the facility. Like we said, there are limitations, like the practice bubble. There are limitations there based on zoning stuff. But Jeffrey Lurie is not one of these owners who has been hesitant in the past to invest in his club.
Do you think Jeffrey is happier about this grade or the recent award for a Vietnam restaurant?
Yeah, Vietnam Restaurant is a Beard Award winner now. He can be happy for both. They're not mutually exclusive, right?
Well, yeah, but that's why I asked which one is he more happy
I'd
for.
say comparison is the thief of joy. So
you just don't answer the question.
yeah, I don't know which one he's happier for. I mean, he's probably very happy for his family with Vietnam Restaurant, and he's probably thrilled for his organization. I did ask Jeffrey Lurie about this poll a year ago, and he kind of,
They had to look into the methodology.
He dismissed it. Yeah, he dismissed it. He did not. He wanted to figure that out. I think he'd be very happy with the methodology that rates him an A. So
here's the more important question. Now that we have spent 25 minutes talking about it, does it matter?
Sure, it matters.
I mean, the Chiefs got terrible grades, and they just won
Yes.
their second straight Super Bowl.
Yeah, they also have Patrick Mahomes.
Sure.
And I think what the
Why
Chiefs,
does it matter?
I think what the Chiefs said, I saw this quote, is that because they're playing so deep into the season every year, they can't upgrade the facilities. which is such a like a backhand
They're making
flex.
so much money. You want to give me a break?
Yeah. This look, I don't think this matters in terms of like this is going to be the difference between winning and losing, but I think this matters because this is the workplace for these guys, and you want a positive workplace. You want a place where they're where they're happy to go to work, where the facilities are top notch, the food's good, the travel's good, like all the stuff that you and me and Julia and our listeners and our viewers would want in their workplace. You don't want to go to a place where you feel like they're not investing in the product or they're not investing in your well-being. But I don't think this is determinative of a team's success. Ultimately, it's about how good the players and the coaches are.
All right, let me take this time now, Zach, to tell everybody about becoming a PHLY diehard. You get all the good stuff, the access to the diehard-only articles, the events, and the discounts on merch. Get a free shirt if you become a PHLY diehard. And it just, make this the way that you support us. After everything that Zach is doing for you, sacrificing his sleep, taking those long showers, support the man by becoming a PHLY diehard. Isn't that right up your wheelhouse, Zach?
Yes, I was about to tell you, Wheelhouse. I need to get there either this weekend or next weekend and see their latest supply of cards for my son, because Wheelhouse is the go-to sports card gift and apparel shop in the Delaware Valley. Their motto is cards and community, because love of sports unites us all. They carry all of your favorite card brands like Topps Chrome Baseball and Mosaic Football, as well as t-shirts, hats, and hoodies from brands like Mitchell & Ness, 47 brand Junk Food Starter, and Shy Vintage Sports. If you're looking to grade your sports card collection, Wheelhouse offers PSA grading submissions. They also host tons of different family-friendly events and birthday parties every month. Stop into either of their stores, Wayne or Westchester. Open 7 days a week at 11 a.m. Use code PHLY. Gets you $10 off any purchase of $25 or more in store. Also, be sure to give them a follow on Instagram at Wheelhouse Cards.
All right. We're at the tail end of the show here, Zach. But
yeah,
just
I think we burned a lot of time on the opening.
I wouldn't say we burned it. I would say we crushed it. That was great. I mean, if we were burning it, it was like a nice smelling diffuser that we were burning.
One can only wish.
But some like leftover thoughts from the things that we heard this week, and maybe some just discussions we were having over the course of the week. One thing that is sticking with me is like Nick Sirianni's press conference, and we talked about it a little bit on Tuesday's show, but like the disconnect between the Nick we saw at the end of season press conference, who seemed chastened and saying all what we thought were like the things that Jeffrey Lurie wanted to hear, that he was going to sort of become this different person, and then to see him up on the podium on Tuesday, and like it's all the same stuff.
Yeah.
It's the 5 core values again and again, and like the repeat answers on a couple other questions. Sure. It makes me a little bit like, I don't know if Nick Sirianni has a secondary pitch, so to say. Like, I don't know what it is that he's going to be changing. It seems like he's prepared to sort of, from a stylistic perspective, run it back.
It's a good point. And look, we both agreed when we did that show after the first press conference that he was saying what he needed to say to keep his job. I think, the offense got stale, so on and so forth.
And Lord knows we have been misled by Nick Sirianni press conferences in the past, right?
Yeah.
Like we can make too much of this. But just from a what am I expecting? I think it has sort of confirmed that I don't think that he thinks that this thing needs to be torn down and he needs to be a different type of coach.
Yeah, I think it might have been a little more about like defiance. Look, Nick's been bearing the brunt of most of the criticism during the past few weeks. It hasn't as much been the players. It certainly hasn't been the front office. It's been Nick, and it's come in a lot of different ways in terms of like the locker room, his sideline demeanor, all this stuff. And I think there's a part of Nick that kind of wants to stick his back up and say like, hey guys, in my 3 years here, we've made the playoffs every year. We were in the Super Bowl in year 2. The culture 2 years ago was like, it was kumbaya. Every article was Nick Sirianni knows what the F he's doing, right? It was, and that's quoting what Nick said against the Giants that year, that the offense was like setting records, and that he didn't all of a sudden forget how to be a head coach. And so I think this was an overcorrection to maybe the sentiment during the past few weeks, is that wait, you guys think that I'm just this empty shirt telling, peddling the vision of somebody else? No, like I know what the F I'm doing. And that's kind of the takeaway that I think that's what I had in terms of what Nick was trying to convey.
But it also doesn't feel like he went back to the drawing board. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't presenting new ideas. Now, he doesn't need to do that in that setting. Yeah. Who knows exactly what he's been working on behind the scenes, but it just, I didn't get that sense.
Yeah, I mean, to use an analogy, I don't think Nick feels as if he needs to renovate the home. I think he feels like he needs to redecorate the home, right? Like he doesn't need to, take down walls and change this. He just needs to
shuffle the deck chairs on the Titanic.
Well, if you want to be fatalistic, yeah. If you want to compare it to the Titanic, no, it's you get a new couch here, a new paint job there, and
a bigger hot tub over there.
yeah, they need that apparently, right? But no, it's not this whole big wide scale turnaround. I think that's how he views it.
Okay. What else is on your mind?
Yeah, so I left here and tell me if you have a different view. I left here even more convinced that Hassan Reddick's going to be traded. And I think there's going to be a market for Hassan Reddick. I understand not every edge rusher is going to be tagged. Bryce Huff, for instance, is not going to be tagged. But I got the feeling from Howie Roseman the other day, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, that they know this is going to cost a lot of money to keep him, that there's going to be a market there, and that they need to think big picture in terms of how they're allocating their resources.
I'm on the fence about whether I think it's more or less likely, because I feel like sometimes with Howie, he's going to just from a negotiation standpoint present the opposite.
Sure.
Right? Like if he said Hassan Reddick is an elite edge rusher, like we have no interest in letting him go somewhere else, that could just be posturing for, if you're going to trade for this guy, you got to pay up. Whereas if he says we're going to let the market dictate, like that's a message to the agents that if they don't find what they're looking for, price is going to come down and we will pay that price.
Sure.
So,
but I think he's going to get that price. And then Jeff McClain had in his story the other day, and Josita Anderson had a report that teams are already making offers.
Yeah.
That would suggest that teams are not going to make offers to the Eagles unless they feel they can sign Reddick to,
that's a good point.
to what it's going to take. And so then I think that if there's a team willing to give that number, it comes to two things. Will the Eagles pay that number? So let's use this. Montez Sweat got $24.5 million. I know Montez Sweat is younger, but he hasn't been as productive. But even more, the cap has gone up here. So there's more money to pay top of the market guys, right? You're not paying your middle class as much, you're paying the top of the market guys. And Hassan Reddick's the top of the market guy. So if I'm thinking like that 24, 25 million range is where it's going to take. And if you're the Eagles and you're paying Jalen Hurts what you're paying him, and A.J. Brown what you're paying him, and Lane Johnson what you're paying him, you're paying Slay, decent money. There's a lot of guys making 7 digits and above, right? So, or I'm sorry, 8 digits and above. Yes, 8 digits and above.
Well, both.
Yes, most of the guys are making 7 digits and above, 8 digits and above. I just think that they're probably going to look at this and say they can't pay Hassan Reddick $25 million a year. I could be wrong. I'm not reporting that. That's just me.
No, I think that's fine, and I think you're probably right. But the question then becomes: you trade Hassan Reddick, doesn't edge rusher become like the number one need on your team? The way that Howie Roseman wants to build it.
Yeah, and so there's two answers to that. Number one is you're really counting on Nolan Smith, which might be a big leap of faith. And number two, that maybe you sign a guy for if the number you have for an edge rusher is $15 million, and you say we can get, I'm just using Bryce Huff because that name's come to mind, right? We can get Bryce Huff for $15 million, right?
And we can get Zadarius Smith for 14.
Exactly, something like that. Like if you can get that middle, and that's not even a middle tier around the contract you paid Hassan Reddick last time. Basically, you're not paying Hassan Reddick in that top 5. You're willing to pay an edge rusher to be one of the top 25 paid guys at his position, but not one of the top 5 guys at his position.
Yeah.
So it could be that. And because you're counting on Nolan Smith to play like a first-round pick.
And we're going to get like deep into the free agents who are available next week. I'll have a big thing coming out on Monday, and then we're going to get into quackatology. But you look at the other edge rushers available, Brian Burns and Josh Allen at the top, both guys probably not likely to come free. Jonathan Grenard from the Texans also probably not likely to come free, but could, and I think would be interesting to the Eagles as like a young building block type player. Bryce Huff you mentioned. Then you get to some older players like Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith we talked about. Chase Young, I don't think is going to be, the Eagles are not going to be the high bidders on him, I would think. Josh Uche from the Patriots is interesting. People have linked Andrew Van Ginkel, of course, because he played for Fangio before and has that sort of versatility. And then after that, it's sort of a drop-off. Like you're hoping for bounce-back years from like Yannick Ngakoue or AJ Epinesa, and just keep going down. Like it gets you're crossing your fingers unless you're going for like a Casey Toohill type.
I don't think they're going for a Casey Toohill type.
They should.
You do like a Toohill.
What's not to like? I think he's great. I think he could be a 3-hill.
I don't think Casey Toohill is the answer. I would not trade Hassan Reddick and turn to Casey Toohill. No disrespect to Casey Toohill, right?
That sounds like disrespect to him.
You didn't pick up the right. He's a big right
good.
guy.
Oh,
yeah,
that's good. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
that's
a right
good.
brother. Yeah.
He's a right brother. Yeah.
Because
as
someone says in the chat or in a comment section, I say right a lot as well. Maybe I learned it from Casey Toohill.
Maybe so.
Worst people to be compared to than a Stanford grad.
Trying to think of any like notorious Stanford grads. Are there any like serial killers?
I actually don't know the alma maters of most serial killers, to be honest with you.
I can think of one particularly egregious Stanford grad, but I'll save that for another day.
Okay. Tiger Woods. I mean,
no. Although,
yeah. So yeah.
Maybe I didn't. Now, by the way, when we landed today, this is on me because we didn't communicate this. I thought there was a chance we were gonna go back together. Because you had a car and I did not have a car, and maybe this is you, 25 men, 25 cabs.
No, not
but you just jetted off. No wait for
I'm sorry,
you at the end of the runway. See what's going on. What's your plan? You just jetted off, and I wonder if it was because you wanted to have your time to change in the car.
Yeah, I actually did have a change of clothes in the car. To be honest with you, that's why we're in studio. I want to know if we were in Studio B. I did have a change of clothes in the car.
Yeah, he said if we were gonna be in Studio A, he was gonna have to put on some pants.
I'm sorry about that. I didn't know if you were going home first, but honestly, my honest answer is I wanted to call my wife, and so I was going to the car to call her. So
just to see how the Weston's doing.
Our house does not smell like a Weston, but our house smells lovely. Yes.
All right. That'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. Tomorrow we're gonna do a little play in Howie Roseman, right? We're gonna both think of like 5 moves that we would make this offseason if we were Howie Roseman. So that'll be a fun show. And that's all we got. So Zach, I hope you get some sleep tonight. I hope you have a nice, bountiful dinner of saltines and saltines.
I don't think we actually have saltines in the pantry. So
sounds like
we got to work on that.
Sounds like you're calling out Emily there.
Why would you assume that's Emily? I'm perfectly capable of going to the grocery store and getting saltines.
You have told us that you are not capable of going to the grocery store. Unless it is on the list, you're not getting the saltines. You would have to write it down for yourself.
Well, that's true, but I'm capable.
Because you do not deviate from the list.
I do not. That's a good callback. I do not deviate from the list. I am very programmable at the I am honestly at the grocery store. I am like the DoorDash pickup guy. Like I'm just getting from the list and to the point that like
you charge outrageous fees as well.
No, I'm looking for like what the replacement thing is if that's not there. But I do not deviate from the list at the grocery store. But I am capable. I heard the other day. I keep mentioning this Chris Long, Jason Kelsey, but I don't think. But they were talking about going to the grocery store like it's the most arduous task in the world, and I'm like, come on, like it's not that bad.
I like going to the grocery store, but it's an art, not a science.
How's it an art?
You got to freelance. You got to let the grocery store speak to you.
That is how you end up leaving the grocery store paying more than you anticipated. You know, I believe in inventory management. I believe in budget control. Like that's what I'm thinking of when I go to the grocery store.
So what a joyless way to live.
Trust me, I have a very joyful life. I'm not joyless. It's just my joys are different than your joys. My joys are not spending more at the grocery store. My joys are saving more at the grocery store. Yes, my joys are you know what you put in your phone number.
You know what you know
you
what
get the discount, and then it says at the bottom of the receipt you saved $12.73 on
That's your joy?
on that. Well, no, here. So seriously, I go to the library, and
You know what might bring you a lot of joy?
what?
Armed robbery.
Why is that?
Well, you wouldn't be paying as much.
Well, here I'm gonna. I know we're past our time, but I'm gonna show you something that gets me excited often, and this is gonna be a self-deprecating. I
Is that
guess.
a picture of Nick Saban without his shirt on?
Okay, so I most recently went to the library on February 13th. Okay, let's see here. This is fascinating, Joe.
I mean, the tension right now is building.
All right, here. So here you go. Read that.
You just saved $76.99 by using your library. You have saved $76.99 this past year and $1,793.91 since you began using the library.
Yes, and so they tell you every time what the price of what you're saving relative to what the price of the book is, and so these are.
And so that's the joyous thing in your life.
Yeah, when I see that at the bottom of the receipt, that gets me pumped. That gets me pumped because
Dad, I'm so happy to see you. How was your trip? Reed, calm down. I'm going to the library. Get out of here.
No, that's not the only joyous thing. That is a joyous thing.
All right. Well, that will do it now for the PHLY Eagles podcast. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening. We will talk to you tomorrow. And for all of us here, as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.